Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. A little bit of a change this time. I'm going to try something new. If you're looking for a video of me describing a car while I'm driving it, this is not going to be that type of video. I just have to tell you that up front. If you are looking for that kind of video where somebody is driving it and explains the car to you while he's doing so, or she, go to the Cars That Goes channel. The very best South African reviews can be found there, and the link is in the description below. What I'm going to try and do in this video is to provide you with enough detail, enough advice and some opinion on a car that I drove recently. And I'm going to do it from the studio because in the studio I have access to a lot more information and a lot more comparative information. I use the Cars That Goes compare tool, obviously, to compare up to 3 cars in detail with one another. A fabulous tool. Link is in the description below. So the first car that gets this new video treatment is the recently facelifted Suzuki S-Presso, which in its base form is the most affordable new car in South Africa, and therefore it sells very well and you see a lot of them on the road. And I'm sure a lot of first-time buyers or people buying down or students will be interested to hear what the facelift is like and you know, whether it's a good buying proposition. Since we've lost the Mahindra KUV, the Datsun Go, the Hyundai Atos, there really are only Suzukis available at the cheap end of the market, even though in some instances they might be badged as Toyotas. Of course, there is also the Renault Kwid, which continues in the local market, and I see recently the Proton Saga has joined in as well, but that's a sedan in a different kind of vehicle, not really in this comparison, and I haven't driven one anyway. So I can't say much about it. The S-Presso that I tested was the mid-spec GL Plus derivative. The price is 173,900 rands. And I think as a start, let's talk about what's different between the 2023 Suzuki S-Presso and the pre-facelift model. If you look at the power and the torque figures of the facelifted Suzuki S-Presso, then you may think that nothing much has changed on the engine front, but in fact it now has the K10C dual jet 3-cylinder engine that it shares with the Celerio, and which Suzuki claims is more efficient. So how much more efficient? It's difficult if you don't have 2 cars on the same day, the one pre-facelift, the one, you know, the new one. But Suzuki claims, and as a Suzuki owner I can verify that they tend to be more accurate with their claimed figures. They claim 4.6 liters to 100 kilometers for the updated car, which is 0.3 liters per 100 kilometers better than before. In my testing, I got an average of 4.9 liters per 100 kilometers, and I think if you really drive with an efficiency mindset, you might get closer to that 4.6. What also helps is that this car has start-stop, so if you get to a dead stop in traffic, the engine will switch off and you will save a few extra drops of fuel. Out on the road and mostly around town, I found the S-Presso quite a willing little car. It's quite, you know, zesty off the line actually, even some wheel spins sometimes. It's got a very nice little gearbox, 5-speed gearbox, a very slick, very robust feeling gearbox, doesn't feel like it's going to break. And you have to remember the S-Presso weighs only 800 kilograms or thereabouts, so it's light. So the engine doesn't have to work particularly hard to move it around until you put a lot of people in it, obviously, and some luggage, or you're at altitude and you put people in it, in which case you may find it a little bit lackluster. So around the middle of last year, the Suzuki S-Presso made the headlines for all the wrong reasons when it scored only 3 stars in global in-cab crash testing for adult protection. For child protection, it only scored 2 stars. Now, to address the safety issue, and just keep in mind that this crash test was done prior to the facelift being launched, Suzuki has now added ESP, an electronic stability control system, to all S-Pressos, all the models, which is really good. Now at the price, I don't really think that you can expect more in terms of safety features, and it's worth noting that the only real remaining budget car rival, the Renault Kwid, scored only 2 stars for adult protection in the same test. And even more interestingly, the equivalent Renault Kwid Life in South Africa is about 10,000 Rand more than this S-Presso, and it still doesn't feature ESP. Besides ESP, the S-Presso also has ABS brakes, dual airbags, and to address the child safety concern specifically, it now has top and lower child seat anchorages at the back, which I think the Renault still doesn't have either. It even gets rear park sensors, which, you know, in a small car like this and at this price, really for me is a little bit overkill. Personally, I think you can see the corners of the car, it's not necessary, but anyway, it's there. It's nice to have. I must say, one of the things that Suzuki does better than almost anyone, I think, at the sort of budget level of vehicles, is to make cars that are affordable feel a little bit more expensive than what they really are inside. And it's the same with the S-Presso. A real highlight is the 7-inch infotainment touchscreen system. It's Apple CarPlay, Android Auto compatible. There's a USB port. You've got remote control buttons on the steering wheel. Really cool. You also get electric windows up front, and something that many small cars often lack, electrically adjustable side mirrors, which in this instance the S-Presso has, but the Renault Kwid lacks. As far as facelifts go, this is a really minor one for the S-Presso. This GL Plus model gets 14-inch alloy wheels instead of steel wheels with plastic wheel covers, which is a nice upgrade. If you want more flash for your cash, literally, then you'll have to spend 15,000 Rand more and get the S edition S-Presso, which basically just has silver accenting everywhere, in addition to a larger touchscreen system and a rear view camera. I think we can argue until we are blue in the face about whether 173,900 Rand is good value for a small new car, budget car of this nature. But that's just where the new car market is at the moment in South Africa. And if you're only going to buy a new car, you don't really have much choice. For the money, I do believe that the S-Presso is better value and better packaged than its main rival, the Renault Kwid. And I think particularly the fitment of ESP as standard is a real plus point. In my view, the Suzuki is also more refined to drive than the Kwid. It's more efficient. Inside, I think you get as many luxury features as you can reasonably expect at this price level. And while it's a small car and legroom in the back is a little bit tight once you get to, let's say, 1.7 meters and higher, taller, the boot is actually nicely shaped, and you can fit a surprisingly large number of bags in there. And then I think, you know, there's Suzuki's warranty and service plan. A combination that I think is the icing on the cake here.
Let the cat out the bag a little bit. A round of applause to Mazda for coming in third, please. They did scoop a few awards tonight, so that's well earned. In second place, Mercedes-Benz. Round of applause to Mercedes-Benz.
This is actually quite intense.
Let's cut to the chase. The winner of this award showed impeccable service while growing at an impressive rate in a very, very tough market in the sales space. And without further ado, I give you the Cars by Peugeot Consumer Awards, powered by Westbank. Yes. Suzuki.
In the past, with the Cars by Peugeot Consumer Awards program, I have personally gone through thousands of ownership satisfaction surveys, and the end result of that is that I own a Suzuki. I know Suzukis are no-nonsense, reliable, honest cars, and that the backup is good. And you put that on top of a solid warranty and service plan, and there's just a lot of peace of mind that comes from that purchase. There are a few things that I don't like, and the major one for me is very subjective, so take it from where it comes and make up your own opinion, but I personally just can't stomach the looks of the car. I think it's one of the ugliest cars on the market, but yeah, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and I will leave that up to you. I think it's much better inside, mostly because you don't have to look at it from the outside. I think a more important criticism potentially is the fact that I'm 1.8 meters tall. The driver's seat isn't height adjustable, the steering column isn't rake or reach adjustable, and so the driving position is a bit of a compromise. It's not terrible, but you can also not tweak it to exactly where you want it to be. I think on the road the S-Presso does a very good job of disguising its weight or its lightness and its tininess. But ultimately, you know, 800 kilogram car is going to be pushed around by strong crosswinds, so just keep an eye out for that. And also, if you factor in the 180 millimeters ground clearance, it is a bit top heavy, and so you go into the corners a bit fast, it does feel a little bit tipsy. Good thing that it's got ESP now for peace of mind. So, should you buy a Suzuki S-Presso, and specifically this GL Plus derivative? In my view, I don't think you really have a choice. If your budget is capped at around 180,000 Rand, and you definitely want a new car, not a used car, you're not going to look at a used car, then I think this is the best that you can do. I personally think the GL Plus derivative is far better value for money than a flashy S edition, which the salesman might want to get you into, but I don't think it's worth the extra 15,000 Rand, to be honest. I also think the S-Presso GL Plus is a better product than the equivalent Renault Kwid in just about every possible way, except maybe boot space and looks. So yeah, I think we're going to see a lot more Suzuki S-Pressos on the road, and I guess I'll just have to learn to look the other way. Thanks for watching, and let me know what you think of the new format in the comments below. And if you do like what you see, I'd appreciate a subscribe. Thanks so much.